The gospel selected for this Sunday is recorded in the Gospel of Luke chapter 8. I invite you to rise as you're able for its reading. When a great crowd gathered and people from town after town came to him, he said in a parable, "A sower went out to sow his seed, and as he sowed, some fell on the path and was trampled on, and the birds of the air ate it up. Some fell on the rock, and as it grew up, it withered for lack of moisture. Some fell among the thorns, and the thorns grew with it and choked it. Some fell into good soil, and when it grew, it produced 100-fold. As he said this, he called out, 'Let anyone with ears to hear listen.'" The gospel of the Lord. Thanks be to God. You may be seated. I invite my children friends to come up and join me for children's message. Come on up, kids. These are just some of the people that have gone to Bible camp and canoe trip and have been on a week-long leadership training at Wapagassa Bible Camp called Tim Team. And they're going to explain what Tim Team means in a little bit. But before we let them talk about how they met God, or God met them at Bible camp and changed them to make a difference in the world, how many of you remember being at a Bible camp any time of your life? Raise your hand. How many of you have sent a son or a grandson to Bible camp or a relative to camp? Most of us have been touched by camp in some significant way, and there's a good reason why we should continue to make sure that all of our youth get a chance to go to camp if they wish to. The study was done of people that are coming into seminary, and the question was asked of them, what were the primary reasons that led you to make a decision and felt God's call to go to seminary? And the highest ranking cause or reason was they all went to Bible camp. Bible camp has a way of forming faith in a way in which that outdoor ministries that we cannot do in church the way that we'd like to hear. And so we start with the premise that these people have already experienced camp. God has met them, and now they come back and share with us how they have been changed and want to make a difference in the community called Our Saviour's Lutheran. Now, Alice went for the first time, right, to a Seeds camp, and that's a 3-day camp as sort of a primer to get him ready for the whole week, which the rest of them went to later on. And Alice was willing to share with us what her time at Seeds at Wapagassa Bible Camp meant to her and how she's changed by it. Let's listen to this.
Good morning. My name is Alice Ann Welchak, and I went to Camp Wapo for the first time. And how I met God was like how I know how much our neighbors love us. Was like, okay, and our friends a bit more, and our family way more, and God and Jesus overflows.
Alice, did you have fun at camp when you went there?
Yeah.
What was most fun?
We played a lot of games, and we even got to go swim in a lake.
Good for you. Alice, you are a precious gift, and I'm not surprised that she would meet new friends. She has the most contagious little smile and laughter. God has had great things in store with you, and I'm glad you went to camp. You might be going again next year, right?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Now we have some people that went to the 4th to 9th graders, went to a week-long Bible camp. They just call it WAPO Camp. And if you would be willing to share with us, Megan and Lexi, what it was that was meaningful for you at camp.
Well, I'm Megan, and they didn't let us have our phones or any of our electronics, so it was kind of sad, but more of a way to connect with God, and it feels like my faith has grown more going to WAPO, because I've been going since 2nd grade, and it's just really fun meeting new people and having fun in your cabin and all the games.
Lexi.
Hi, I'm Lexi, and so one of the things that touched me at camp was it kind of brought me out of my shell more, and I met like a ton of new friends that I'm still in contact with, and the music there is so good. Like I still know almost all the songs from 2nd grade to now, and So yeah, the music is really fun, and they do some serious songs and some songs with actions where you can run around the campfire and just sing, and it's just really fun to hang out with your friends.
Would you mind telling us how you changed yourself because of Bible Camp?
Yeah, I was like really shy, and I didn't really want to talk to anyone there, and because I was like really scared, because the first time I went, I didn't have any friends going with me, so I was like really scared that everyone would just leave me out of everything. And almost everyone there was so nice, and the counselors are so nice, and we just like all of them became a second family to me because they were all so nice to me, and they included me in everything. So.
Lexi said that she was shy when you went to Bible camp and she came out differently. Good job, Lexi. You were a beautiful communicator. Now, the next group of people went on a canoe trip, and they just came back Friday night. So that's the reason why they look so wide awake. They've been sleeping ever since, I'm sure. Stephanie and the rest of you, would you tell us, those of you who went on the canoe trip, how you met God and what was important about that trip for you?
Okay, well, I'm Stephanie, and what was important to me throughout the trip was I learned many new ways to pray, and I kind of reinforced the fact that the beauty of God is everywhere, and so that really has stuck with me. So everywhere I go, I'm noticing everything that God has done for me, or like just kind of whatever. Great. And I don't know, it was such a beautiful place to like grow with God and grow in your faith.
Good. Thank you, Stephanie.
I'm Brady, and one thing that I thought was kind of neat about the trip was when we were paddling out that I noticed that paddling has kind of something to do with faith, as it can get harder and easier. With the wind, it's easier, or in like rough spots during life, is like going into the wind, it's a lot harder to paddle.
Excellent, thank you.
I'm Dylan, and what I took away from it is that you can see God in like everything. You just see Him in different places that you wouldn't normally think to see Him.
I'm Austin, and what I took away from the Boundary Waters trip was that it really reinforces the principle of many hands makes for light work, because whether it's setting up camp or moving canoes out of the water and stuff, it's just easier with a group.
Before we hear from the Tim team, the picture on the screen is the picture of the group that went up to the Boundary Waters. And obviously they had a great time. They learned things about God, and thank you for sharing what you did. And I understand you caught some fish. Is that true? It's not just stories now. And they said they had 2 or 3 meals because of the fish they caught. Job well done. And all my times up there, I come home skunked every time, so you've done better than that. Now, Kyla and Gabe are going to share with us what Tim Team means, and if you could tell us what Tim Team stands for, and then what you learned from that, and what you bring back to church to change our world. Tell us all about that, Kyla.
Okay, my name's Kyla, and Tim Team stands for Teens in Mission. So one of the things we did was made a covenant, which is a promise to God to change things back at church. And our mission that we decided to come up with was that we're going to try to get people more involved and keep the youth involved when they're out of high school or in high school. And yeah.
Gabe?
At Tim Team, or hi, my name's Gabe, and at Tim Team, it was really cool to see the people grow throughout the week. You met these people the very first day, and by the end of the week, you kind of just didn't want to leave. Yeah.
I heard some practical things that you would like to do with our young people to get them involved, like some of the things. Kyla, could you, or Gabe, or either one?
Okay. So we started social media. We have Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter.
Real close.
So we are going to start some new events. We're going to plan new events that haven't been done before, and we're going to put our Instagram and Snapchat around the church so the young youth or older youth or anybody can add us if they have those things.
Excellent. Folks, what you hear here are people who are our own members that have been in Sunday school and coming up and growing, and now they go to camp, go to a canoe trip, and they come back and say, how can we make a difference back at church? I'm remindful of the scripture lesson again that Leanne read about to Timothy. Paul wrote to Timothy, a young pastor, and he says, don't let anyone put you down because you're too young. Young people, I say to you, the gifts that you have already shared with us are remarkable. And I encourage you to think about how God has something great in store for you, whether it's here at church or at school, or maybe going forward as you think of after high school. But God has something great things in store for you, and don't underestimate how big that dream might be. Don't let anyone put you down because you're so young. Last Thursday, I brought my son, Ryan, up to a Bible camp north of Grand Rapids in Deer River. It seemed like forever. It was in Canada. But my son, Ryan, had been there twice before. And he was like a giddy little child, just couldn't wait to get there because he knew what he was going to experience. For Ryan, Bible camp meant that he could not only have the campfires and the swimming and the fun and the counselors, but he knew he would come back with some songs that he would be singing forever and forever and forever. I somehow feel sorry for his group home adults who go to pick him up from camp, because the first year they said they could not shut him up. He just kept singing and singing and singing. But you know what I come away with? As a parent of a son with special needs, I am so happy to be a member of a church, a Lutheran church, who sees the importance of Bible camp, that would be willing to sponsor a Wapagasset to make sure that these young people can go to Wapagasset. And in Ryan's case, he can go to Camp Hiawatha up in Grand Rapids, hear about Jesus, and then come home changed. I am so happy for what the Bible camp ministry has made an impact in the lives of this church, but especially in the lives of these young people. I want to acknowledge somebody who has helped make this happen this summer, because many of us know that our youth director, Christina, is out on maternity leave taking care of her precious little bundle called Bentley, and she'll be coming back in September, but she's been gone all summer. And then Bryce Bloxam, who takes care of our young kids and worked with Bible camp, he's been on leave of absence doing his seminary work, getting ready for seminary. And so we've been so short of staff. And what happens, Gina Pruhl stepped into the limelight. Gina, would you please stand up? And she has filled in the gap in a beautiful way to make sure that things happen. Let's thank Gina for that. And because Christina was home taking care of her son, she could not go on the canoe trip, which she loved to do. And so for these young people to go on the canoe trip and have so much fun, let's see, Jason Marin, are you at this service? He was at the earlier service. Laura, are you here? Laura, right back of the pillar there. She's waving her hand. Jason and Laura went up with the kids, spent all week. Thank you for that, Laura. All what we're saying is that we've heard a story of young people who said they have heard the message of Jesus' love, whether it's in Seeds and WAPO, Canoe Trip, or Tim Team, and they come back as a gift to say, how can we be a change agent for Christ in our own community? Young people, God's blessings be with you. And as you return to your seats, let our applause say, God is doing something great in you, and we're proud of it. Let's thank them as they go back. Thank you, Paula. Thanks, Gabe.